This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week we'll interview visionary business leaders to inspire the creative power and spirit that's in every entrepreneur. Discussing strengths, weaknesses, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together for a new future for local small business.
What is up, peeps? This is the ABQ Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Super excited about a guest today. I like whenever someone DMs me, and I get a lot of those, and a lot of people ask me to be on the show. Rocky, I had read a little bit of his story, and then we ended up going back and forth through LinkedIn, and I have been really excited. His story, whenever you have somebody that is successful and they go through horrific, and I'm talking, we're going to get into this, and Rocky's going to share this, horrific things that would, take a normal person, if you want to use the word normal, and just debilitate them to the point to where being at a -10 in their life, just getting to a 1 or 2 would be, a success story. And I don't want to delay this anymore. Welcome to the show, Rocky. Thanks for being on the ABQ Business Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here, Jason.
Yes, I want to kind of start off. When you sent me your bio, I was like, I've never met anyone that has had these many horrific things happen to their life. So I kind of want to start off now. What did you start were you born in the United States? Let's start from the very beginning, and then I want to work through each of these.
Yeah, definitely. So I was born in the Bronx, New York. My parents were first generation here. They were here for probably about around 5, maybe 7 years before they had me, and I was their first kid.
Oh, okay. And so in the Bronx, were you born in, was it a middle class area, upper class, was it lower? Where was it?
It was right around the middle to lower class, I guess. I mean, it was Bronx Lebanon Hospital. My dad was actually doing residency and things like there at that time. And he was in the area, so that's kind of where they had me.
And then were you when you started going to school and because I mean, the story kind of starts off, when did it start going bad for you? Was it teenage years, preteen?
It was mostly preteen. I mean, my father moved us to the South pretty quick in Mississippi. And, we were kind of away from the culture and the traditions that he wanted to instill in his kids. And he was, busy working. So, we kind of started liking to go out and to see our friends and to play sports. As far as, Indian parents and especially mine back then go, they really wanted us to stay home, to study, to read the encyclopedia from back to front, and then do quizzes on each letter, things like that. So my father and I started butting heads at an early age. And, at 11, I believe was 11 or 12 was my first time getting quote unquote sent away. I got sent to India, actually, my first time. And I was there living with a family nearby for about 7 or 8 months. And that kind of started my pattern and my journey of my, teenage years of being sent away for 6 months and then home for 6 months and back to back and back until finally I, graduated and started college.
So when you said that you and your dad, how old were you when you and your dad started butting heads?
I'd say 10, 11 at the oldest. I was very, my brother and sister were a lot more quiet and reserved. I was very talkative, outspoken. I would talk back, make comments, and very hyperactive so they were kind of having troubles dealing with me from a pretty young age.
So do you think that has, on the positive side, do you think that is kind of why you're successful today in entrepreneurial in spirit? Do you think that carried over?
I truly believe that. I mean, entrepreneurs, we're a different breed altogether, just from the way we live our lives to our mind patterns, where we fire off synapses in our head and make connections. And I think that at least partly having that kind of in you innately is definitely a foot forward in the entrepreneurial game. I definitely think that it's been a help for me, moving forward.
Now, were you just because I mean, here you are 9, 10, 11 years old. Were you questioning everything? I know you said you were outspoken, but was it just questioning traditions, questioning why should I do this? What had your father think that there was something, that was, because I think I want to share this because I know there's a lot of dads and moms out there, and they have a child that's like this, that could be super gifted, super smart, entrepreneur. And I kind of want the parents to recognize this. So what was some of the things that you think, if you had a child now, that you could recognize that maybe your father didn't?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always wanting to go beyond whatever boundary that anyone set for me, and question what else is out there and what else I can do. And I guess what they would say, at that age for a young kid is someone wanting to be grown up too fast and to do things he's not quote unquote allowed to do. And for me, and even at a young age, I didn't really understand that concept. It didn't really get in my head. I was kind of more like, I want to do what I want to do. I want to be able to go where I want to go. And I mean, even in my entrepreneurial spirit, like I started at a young age, selling baseball and basketball cards, making a lemonade stand on the side of the road, cutting grass for my neighbors, and this was, between the ages of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. My father even bought me a go-kart one year for my birthday, a little small go-kart. And I actually made it into a wagon where I could put all my yard cutting supplies in the back of it and then kind of go house to house and cut grass.
No, that's totally awesome. I love that because when I interview entrepreneurs, it's those stories, and you can kind of see that. So, you take that entrepreneurial spirit, and so you moved out of state. You were like as a preteen, were you not living in the Bronx anymore?
Yeah, we moved pretty quick, actually. I think around 4 or 5 years old, my father had us in upstate New York in Rochester. From there, we went to Dayton, Ohio, where my little brother and sister were born. Um, Probably not more than a month, a year or so, we spent there until my dad found the opportunity in Mississippi, where he started his practice down there, and that kind of rooted us as far as the kids go, into public schools and private schools and the stuff in that area. And our brother and sister actually managed to stay in the same area and graduate and everything from there. For me, it was a totally different story. I was in and out of the household, like I said, every 6 months from 11 to 18.
So, how was it for you starting school in Mississippi?
So when I got back from India, I was at a different school before that, had a lot of friends there, and they automatically put me in another school when I got back. It was fine. I don't, in Mississippi, it was a little bit weird growing up. When I look back, I remember a lot of times of kind of like being ashamed of like who I was and like my culture and being Indian. And, I remember that it wasn't like an in your face type of thing because my father had a lot of people that he knew in the town. But I definitely remember feeling like different. I quickly started, taking my dad's car out after India. He taught me to drive at a young age. And, I think I was around 12, maybe 13. I was in that school when, the next day I was supposed to go to tennis camp. And, all of a sudden I was heading off to a boot camp in Ensenada, Mexico, Baja California. And that was kind of like the beginning of, I don't know how to better call it than like craziness. That was like that boot camp. Paris Hilton, actually, the actress, I guess, Paris Hilton, made a documentary about it called This Is Me. And she's kind of outlining some of the schools that were US based in Utah called Provo Canyon. The one I went to, like I said, was in Mexico. It was called Casa by the Sea by the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs, which is just, it's a crazy school, man. I mean, they've been changed their names and everything now. Like I said before, and all the allegations of child abuse and rape and torture and trauma. These schools are for-profit businesses that manipulate parents as well as kids and tell the parents are, going to have some kind of nice jet skis and swimming pools and doctors and care and this and that. And, that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, there's a group of like 1,000 of us on Facebook now. We call each other survivors that have all went through these programs and similar ones and the same ones. And, at that age, we weren't allowed to connect with each other or with the outside world from these schools. So we had to kind of all find each other on Facebook. And, now as adults share these stories and talk about, the things that we didn't get to see and that we didn't know and that were happening around us. And the things that we went through ourselves as well, which, like I said before, range everything from sexual assault to physical assault to tons and tons of daily brainwashing and mental manipulation. That was kind of like daily practice. They kind of wanted to break the kids and not let them know what time you're leaving and, if you're going to ever be able to leave until you turned 18. Waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going outside in the rain and counting, to being picked up and thrown on your stomach and being sat on and your hands and your feet tied behind your back and be made to stay there for days and days and days on end with just, releasing one arm to eat orange juice and, drink rice or drink rice and drink orange juice and eat rice. I remember when you stand up from that punishment finally, your entire body like cramps up, like your ankles, your calves, your legs, even your abs and your stomach, everything just kind of cramps up from being still for so long. And I remember as a child, I think I was 12. So that one time going into it's called R&R, restraint and restriction, the heaviest punishment. That was kind of enough for me. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back there again. That's a kind of the quick outline of a, crazy program, which I went to twice, actually, once at 12, once at 17.
So what did you notice the difference from 12 to 17 when you went to those? I mean, obviously that's a huge difference mentally. A 17-year-old's a lot different than a 12-year-old. So what were kind of some of the things that you began to pick up on? I mean, obviously you knew that it wasn't a good program at 12 with the things that they were doing, but when you were coming from what had happened between 12 and 17, why were you back in?
Got it. So first of all, there's a an incident that happened when I was 12. This guy named Jason Phillinson, an admin at the program. I was really sick, and he kind of picked me up off my chair, tossed me in the wall, kicked me down the hallway, and tied my hands and feet up. And crazily enough, I told my parents about that, as well as some minor like sexual stuff I went through like when I was a kid there, and I was also small at that point in time. And the programs kind of tell the parents that don't believe the kids are manipulating you, they want to get out. Which, I mean, of course, kids sometimes can be manipulative, we can be. And when you use that as a business to kind of feed on parents emotions, basically, it's obviously wrong. But nonetheless, like, I do understand most parents really didn't know what was going on, and couldn't really make a decision. But when I got out, I got back into a private school in Alabama pretty quickly. My dad had me move away from Mississippi, and that was kind of a slap in the face and a wake up call in my kind of traveling into adulthood. I think I might have been 13 or 14. I really quickly realized that I was a minority. I didn't fit in 100% of people around me. I had a lot of, name calling for everything from, racist stuff to other things, by the headmasters of the school, by, my peers and things like that as well. And I got into like a lifestyle really quickly of, realizing that I can make money by, purchasing a little bit of green leafy substance in Mississippi and taking it over to Alabama to my new private school and selling it for double. So I kind of almost like just grasped and hugged the identity that was already kind of waiting for me in Alabama, a minority kid that was in trouble in Mexico and stole cars and probably sells drugs too. And I kind of dove headfirst into that. And the next 3 years, were a combination of, getting in trouble, getting kicked out of a school for, being called a name and then retaliating, to, getting upset at teachers that, I had fights with, selling drugs, doing drugs, partying and drinking, and, a military school, a Catholic boarding school, another like one-on-one private school. And then finally, until I was basically kidnapped out of my bed in the middle of the morning, with my ankles and my cuffs, my hands all cuffed together and things, and escorted by two guys that were so tall. I remember as a kid, they had to turn off the fan in my room to be able to stand in my room. And these guys escorted me, crazily enough, to the same exact program, in a now different location where the guy, Jason Phillinson, was now running it. And this location was called Academy at Ivy Ridge, in Ogdensburg, New York, on the border of Canada. And it was the same exact program, just as crazy. However, when you ask about the differences, by the time I was 17 going to this place again, I was pretty institutionalized. I knew how to work a system. I knew what happens when you get in a system. I know the basically the quarantine period when you're, just coming in to the school and having to stay to the side and get ready and learn the ropes and things. And on top of that, I was much bigger from 12 to 17. I remember such a strong feeling. The one time in my life where I really wanted to hurt somebody so badly was when I walked in that school at 17 and saw the big like shit eating dumbass grin on that dude's face. And he was like, Rocky, like, hey dude, like, how's it going? I remember I saw a pen and I was like, I want to grab that pen and stick it in his neck. But at that age and at that size, at that point, I had a lot less, physical, people trying to do physical things to me. Whenever they would come grab me with three people from, the classroom and take me to the back and talk to me and things like that, because I guess they knew I was bigger. They knew I already had an experience in violence with Jason when I was a kid. So they kind of controlled that. And at the same time, I also was older. And when I was in the system, I learned this pattern in my life of adaptability, and of, being able to get out of the situations I'm in and figure out a solution versus, stare at the problem. I remember when I got to that school within a couple of weeks, I realized like, okay, I know what to do. I know the system, I know the program. Let me tell them what they want to hear, write my essays, and go to these little meetings they want me to do good enough so I can get out of here as fast as possible. And as crazy as it is to kind of bring like a business sense from that, that's actually helped me a lot in my business and in just entrepreneurial life in general, is being able to change and adapt so easily and so flowing, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how rough or horrible the situation looks. That has kind of brought me pretty far in my life, being able to have that background.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, the child abuse, the rape, the torture, and everything that was going on in those schools, it had to be absolutely horrific. And you had a choice to make. I imagine you saw the some of the other children that were, that would just, give in, and it would just break their spirit. But it seemed like it just, that entrepreneurial spirit that you had, it just kind of made you more angry. And then when you finally got out before you were 17, what was the idea? So like, because I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs that sold drugs. It was because it was, you're young, you're an entrepreneur, so you were thinking, I can do this and make double the money. Was it mainly just the money, or was it a way to supply your addiction?
Man, a little bit of the all of the above. For me, the biggest thing is I was addicted to the lifestyle. Um, I love the fact of being able to take a product that everybody wanted. Everybody that wants drug or that does drugs know they want it. And they want it immediately, and they want to pay what they need to pay for it and get it. And along with that comes parties and clubs and women and everything else. And for me, that was it. I liked kind of being the quote unquote like the man, the guy that had the thing that you needed and wanted. And at a younger age, it was whatever it was. As far as like business spirit was just like, I want to do something. I want to be creating something and putting my, like, I guess, stamp on society, on the economy, like making things move. As I got older, with the rebellious nature mixed in with my distrust for authority that came from all those schools, selling dope, doing drugs, it just kind of all fit in. I was like, this is what works for me. And back then, it's crazy to look back now, because I mean that was my identity, and I never thought that I would change that or think to change it. I would just make it better, and keep going and keep going. I think that's a big thing for people, like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs that sell drugs, is making that transition, from, once you're selling drugs, especially to a certain level and doing it for a certain time, whether it's a good, analogy or not, you're still dealing with numbers, and you're learning how to basically run a business. And if you can kind of transition that into something legal and something that's, beneficial for others or society or business or what have you, I think those are some of the most impactful entrepreneurs that I know.
Yes, I agree 100%. I was amazed at some of the math and the abilities to use scales and weigh things, and people that I know that have shared stories with me on it. And I'm like, you guys are way smart. So and then those that got lucky and didn't, get busted, and then those that did, unfortunately. So one of the things that has happened to you is that you almost died 8 times. Now, some people can say I almost died once or twice. 8 times, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I have about 7 to 11 accidents just in a vehicle that probably all of them should have or could have taken me out. And that's not to mention like the assaults, the crazy like lifestyle with guns and knives and robbing and getting robbed. And it's been a crazy time. And I mean, looking back at it now, I can finally, like, smile and be like, okay, wow, I'm glad I made it to the other side of it. But when we're going through it, I mean, especially even in the beginning when you say, I haven't heard this story. Wow, it's a crazy story, Rocky. For us that are living this lifestyle and going through it, it almost seems normal. It almost like we're surprised, and others like, you haven't. This is how you used to live. This is what you used to do. We're kind of like, oh yeah, didn't everybody kind of do this a little bit? Isn't this kind of like what it is? And I think that speaks volumes as far as how closed-minded we can become when we like grasp an identity and believe this is who we are and just wrap our entire lives around it. And that's why I feel like it's such a good and important trait to be able to change and adapt to new times, new environments, new people, new mindsets that you might have in your own mind. Adapt to those and see where they take you.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, grasp the identity, how we will get into our ego, or we get into this thinking that what we're doing externally is who we are, instead of, doing the work having that self-awareness enough to understand, and then taking those gifts and abilities that have been given to us and then display those out. What are something that you said that I thought was really interesting, was when you thought it was like a normal lifestyle, like you got to the point to where it was normal. Was there, when you were doing all this, the drugs, the knife, the guns, and all that, and I know there was a situation that happened to you, and maybe you could go into that a little bit. And I know this probably here is probably the most. I mean, right? I mean, your story alone is just amazing, but this incident that happened to you is probably the most horrific out of them all.
Yeah, I think you're referring to when my jaw and face were completely fractured on both sides.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So this happened not too long after I caught my charges for distribution. I was on a period of adjudication by the court called house arrest, electronic monitoring, where I was wearing a bracelet every day. At the same time, after the injury happened, I had a lot more slow time. Kind of life forced me to slow down because I couldn't really move or do too much, with that injury. So I was trying to finish up, classes and things. And I was trying to and even with house arrest, I got the chance to focus on school more. And one of the classes was a music class, the opera. So I was downtown Mobile at the opera with my girlfriend at the time. And, we ended up leaving the opera, going to a small bar that, I'd been to many times. And, I was a club promoter. I did promotions in the clubs and the bars all downtown. So I had a lot of people kind of jealous of me, rivals, what you call it, and two of those guys actually picked me up and threw me face first into a concrete sidewalk where you can't really tell now, but there's only one little small scar under my chin where they actually had to go in and repair my entire jaw. All my teeth are basically fake, except for a couple of them. They had to take bone from inside of my skull and implant that into my jaw before they were able to build teeth on top of that. So for a couple of years, even when I went to prison, I didn't have teeth in my mouth. And in fact, I had to actually be rushed away from the prison to a hospital for an emergency surgery because the metal popped out of my mouth, in prison. And, the DA, the district attorney of the city, told my father that, your son is a convicted felon on probation. He wasn't allowed to be where he was, so we're not going to press charges at all against the individuals that did this. And obviously, my father, we weren't happy with, that, result. So we pursued civil charges, and it really wasn't, to be totally frank and honest, it really wasn't a big amount of money. It was enough for me to start my hair business a couple of years later, and that's exactly what I did with that money. Settled out of court, and we took care of it like that. It was definitely a very crazy period of life because prison was mixed in with it. There in the beginning when I first got hurt, I don't even remember much of it because I was on so many drugs from fentanyl to oxycodone, oxycontin, everything, and I was still in pain. And I was eating, soft foods for a while as well. I think I told you I had about 20 major surgeries in my adult life. At least 10 to 15 of the major surgeries I had were stemming from this incident as well.
Now, do you think the drug abuse was from? Do you think it was from not fitting in and having issues, or do you think it was your personality and being drawn to it? Whenever because I want to get into prison and all that stuff, but I kind of want to step back a little bit and see what do you, or was it just peer pressure? What do you think was the reason that you were enticed to doing drugs, not just selling them?
Yeah. So I don't think it had really too much to do with not fitting in. I was, like I said, I'm pretty adaptable. I've always found my way to fit in no matter where I am. For me, it was 100% when you said kind of just being drawn to the illegality, to the you're not allowed to do it, hush hush, don't talk about it, it's drugs. It was a lot more of that. And then I've analyzed this as an adult too, and I kind of had many backward steps as an adult later in life too, when I would use drugs here and there. And I really think at the end of the day, it became a way for me to escape. Escape. I still to this day have horrible nightmares where I wake up remembering these schools and programs and different incidents that happened that were quite traumatic at a younger age. And I think that a lot of me wanted to just not think about it and not dream about it and not face it. So a lot of that 17 to 22, 23-year-old drug use definitely came from that. And then, as drugs are, they're drugs, many of them have tolerances and this and that. as I experimented more and more and more, some of them I got addicted to a few of them. I was addicted to opiates after my surgeries because I was on so many opiates during my surgeries that after, they were done, I kind of still was using them to not feel, less pain, but to just feel high or as an escape mechanism once again. So yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like my personality is the driving factor behind it. And to be honest, which is also what's made it easy to stay away from it now, that shift in mindset, that mind change of, just being in a bathroom doing cocaine or going to snort this or that, or, I mean, anything that you can do has shifted a lot. And I don't see myself in wanting to escape from realities anymore. I do like facing things head on and, kind of dealing with them. And like I said, it's been a journey. It's a dance. Even I still from time to time overindulge in alcohol here and there. Things like that. But the important part is like at this age and after what I've been through, I can recognize it, catch myself, slow myself down, put myself back on the right path, and not really overdo it the way I used to before at all. So it's like I think it's a lot of it is about being delicate with yourself and your path in business and in life, and growth and understanding that you're human. You will have backward steps, you'll have mistakes, but the important part is to minimize them, learn from them, and move on in a stronger sense from them.
No, I love that. Yeah. And one of the things that you said I thought was real interesting. I never got involved in drugs, but alcohol was a huge thing, and going to clubs and partying and all that. And then have you ever heard of the 75 Hard program?
I have not.
Yeah, it's with Andy Frisella. He's a real popular podcaster, very like to the point and blunt, like multimillionaire guy. Well, he invented this program called 75 Hard, and I've been wanting to do it for a while because I kept hearing about it. You got to work out twice a day, every day for 75 days. You have to stick with your diet. You got to read nonfiction books. There's a certain amount of pages you have to read, but you can't have any alcohol. And I was like, 75 days with no alcohol. I don't think I can do that. And and I went through the program, because it's the same as you, entrepreneurial mindset. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It took me about a year to commit to it, and I committed to it. And after that, I really don't have desire because I feel like if I'm working out or something like that, I feel shitty after I drink. Like, it's just not my better version of me. I,
Exactly.
and I'm not trying to, I'm not at the point in my life where, and like what you said, it's like I would drink alcohol before to feel happy. Like I needed that to make me loose and I could talk to women and I could feel happy. And, it would, so I needed something external to make me feel better. And once I finally kind of caught on to that and realized that, then it began to, begin to change. And so now the desires, I mean, occasionally I'll have a couple beers or something like that with some friends, but majority of the time I don't. What were some of the things, not some of the things, but what were things that were happening to you at the moment that caused you to kind of get a wake up call? I know, were you like 22, you said?
As far as like when I kind of decided to start shifting away from that lifestyle, you mean?
Yeah, was it in prison when you made that decision, or
It was actually after prison. I'm really not the type that you can kind of scare or punish or hurt or hit into changing. It has to come from
like
within me, like it really does, like for me to actually make a legit change. So after prison, I kind of dove back in the same lifestyle again. I created another identity. I had circles of people working with me, doing drugs, selling drugs, back into the women thing. And one day my dad came to me and he said, "Hey, Rock, you're not really living at home anymore. You're not asking us for money anymore. What's going on? I think that you should get away. Your probation is done. You have your teeth back. Why don't you just leave for a while and I'll pay for it?" And every time he's always been the one to send me away to these programs in school. So it was very like, triggering and not really wanting to listen to him. But I don't know the way he said it. And in that time of my life, I think it was November 3rd or 4th, 2011, I believe, 11 or 12 maybe. Um, and I thought about it for a night and something just came into me like a different energy, a different higher power. And was like, "Hey, Rock, try something new, man. Let's get out of here. Let's leave our identity, leave these girls behind, leave these cliques and circles behind that you have and everything you think you are as far as dope boy, party animal, whatever goes. Leave those identities and let's go try something else. See what else is out there. Let's just see if there anything else is out there. You're getting a free ticket." And I went to India and started living a clean life for a month. I lived on a farm And I didn't really make too many decisions about what I was going to do or what I wasn't going to do. But I did tell myself that, Rock, man, like, you're not selling dope. You're not selling drugs no more. You're going to let that go. You're going to walk away from it. You don't want to look over your shoulder. You don't want to be hungover every day. You don't want to be feeling like crap if you don't get certain things, or, all that lifestyle entails. And that is the one thing which I have 100% stuck with since that day. I have went back and forth here and there on using a little bit of stuff, from time to time when times were harder for me in the last 7 years. But I have not even gone to a thought pattern of, selling anything illegal or even doing anything shady in my business now. After you go through all that and live that lifestyle of craziness and undercover and, being afraid almost in business, to make something new and your baby and grow it and have it come to where it's came to me for now. Like, I would not risk this for anything, any gray area. I'd rather pay extra tax. I would rather, handle it a different way than anything that would seem gray area or shady for me.
Yeah, no. So, like, getting out of the environment. So your dad gave you this opportunity and you got out of the environment. Was it that month that you spent on the farm? Was it just kind of reflecting on yourself and making this decision, not really knowing what life was going to hold? But what was that like? Because, I always tell people that get out of your environment and go someplace so you have an opportunity to let your mind wander. What was the process when you began to think?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. I just rid myself of all the distractions, and I wasn't really doing this consciously 100%. I didn't know this is what I needed. I didn't actually learn, the value of this stuff properly until I started reading about it a couple of years later. But what I did was I rid all the distractions away from me, and I didn't even know that I had time to think, but I did. I wasn't listening to music. I wasn't watching TV shows. I wasn't connected to my friends. I wasn't reaching out to as many people. I wasn't even, really that connected to anything happening in the States, period. I was on a farm in India where we had signal sometimes and no signal other times. So like you said, the biggest thing in the beginning was really cutting ties and ridding myself of any distraction that wasn't just leading me to a life, a better place in life that, even if I couldn't see at that time, that I wanted to get to and strive for. Doing that, cutting those ties, the distractions at that time really gave me the ability to kind of level up. And that's what I did. I started the hair business while I was out there. We actually made the business plan in prison. Me and a cellmate of mine just would snuck in cell phones that someone had brought into prison, and we'd sit there and call out and ask for prices. How much does bundles cost? How much do wigs cost? How can we go source these products? Where do we get them from? How do we package them? What the current going rate is. And we made a nice one-page business plan, among other business plans we made in prison as well. But when I found myself in India a couple of years later after prison, and remembered that business plan, when I was clear of distractions, when I was, my mindset was off, something different, something forward, something progressive, something new, that fell in my lap again. And, from there, I actually made one Facebook post, and all my homegirls from high school, everybody I used to know, just like, wow, Rock, damn, you have hair. Like, hit us up. Let's work. Let's do some business. And, it definitely wasn't just a quick and easy from there. It was a lot of struggle. I mean, when I first got back in the States, I took all that money I had from my assault, bought hair with it, and came back to my hometown of Mississippi. And I was trying to sell the hair for the same price that I bought it from because I was so excited to do business. And everyone was like, "This is too expensive. We can't afford this." So, like, I got scared. I mean, at that point in time in my life, I had just met my now ex-wife, and I was like, the responsibility of holding a household up was on my shoulders. And so, I started teaching tennis on the side for a couple of years until the business, really started picking up. And it was tough, like $3,000 of sales in a month. I used to literally jump up and down, like, wow, how that's so awesome, 3,000 in a month. And at that point in time, I remember, like, I can't imagine how anybody could do 10,000, let alone 20 or 50 or $100,000 in sales a month. That's crazy. And at that point in time, my entrepreneurial brand was kicking in. Like, what else can I do? I started many small things and tried many small things, but I remained very consistent with Hair Main India all throughout that. And that's where I put my main efforts and energy into. And that's what ended up flourishing the best. But, there are a couple of companies that came from those struggling times, from, my friend's Rosewater company to my CBDT company, that I still, benefit from and work in today.
So, here you are, you're in prison. This is just crazy how entrepreneurs work. You're in prison and you're sitting with another dude and you're like, a lot of people there's not very many people that have this mindset, and you're sitting there creating a business plan. That's just amazing, and it's one of those things when you look at entrepreneurs, you can see this distinct pattern, that goes through. What are some of the things that you think, especially when you got into, and kind of, if you don't mind, explain your hair business, and then explain in the United States the desire for hair and all that.
Got it. Yeah. So about the hair business, I mean, the hair industry and beauty industry in general, they account for, I think, over $250 billion in sales, on a yearly basis. The hair extension industry is incredibly lucrative and also incredibly secret. Um, Many people in the industry have a lot of misinformation. Many people are responsible for placing that misinformation out there. For multiple reasons, I don't like to just say people are doing bad business. A lot of times they were misinformed, or it's just their marketing tool, or they're just trying to put a business together, which is understandable. But in my business, in human hair extensions, especially at a high quality level, it's very, very important to understand, know, trust, and physically actually see the source and the manufacturing process. And that's what I bring to the table. I travel back and forth to India a couple times each year. I'm very in touch with my factory as well as multiple other factories and vendors in India and Southeast Asia in general as well. And I bring that information as well as that consistency and reliability and transparency to all my clients in the human hair extension industry. And we mainly supply businesses such as distributors, salon owners, stylists doing hair from home, a stylist that was working in a salon that wants to run her own shop one day. And we supply them with a high quality raw hair material that allows them to do many things. One, they allows them to up their services and provide really high quality styles to their clients. And two, it allows them to make, custom created pieces, and kind of do what they want to do with hair as far as coloring it, curling it, and styling it, because they're starting with a high quality product. Not to mention just having, that level of product in your salon definitely raises your credibility level with, your clients and people around you. The alternative in the hair industry is, cheaper sourced processed hair extensions, mostly from Alibaba, Amazon, and China. And that is not something I really compared with my business too much. I feel like that there's just a different product altogether. So I really try to inform my clients of all this, put the best things in their hand as possible, and offer them the business support, the connectivity, and the learning tools and resources as much as I can on a daily basis, moving forward in their businesses.
No, I love that. When did you start kind of seeing, because you said you stayed consistent? You're trying other different things. You're doing tennis lessons on the side. You're trying to raise, a family. When did it begin to say, like, I think I'm on to something? Did it take 3, 4, 5? How long did it take before you were like, this is going to be successful?
Long time, a long time actually. It's crazy. I think it took until I got to LA. I think my girlfriend was asking me this question earlier. We actually just made a post on Instagram about how, how'd you start a business? What would you change? What would you do? What would be the different things you done in the beginning? And I thought about that question and what I've done differently in the beginning. And it leads right into your question perfectly. Because if I would have implemented this strategy that I implemented about 3 to 4 years ago at the most, like, and properly implemented it, um, and that was of doing at least 10 to 20 minutes a day on Hair Made in India in the business. And this is at a point when I still wasn't sure what to do. I would force myself, and this would be a daily thing. My tabs would open up 20 tabs, and I would work on a couple of them at a time every single day. And I would say 10 minutes, but I mean, that's just like what I gave myself. I would definitely sit down for much, much longer than that at times. But, if I would have implemented that from day one, I think that timeline for me would have been much shorter. I had a lot of personal life stuff, which is, we're entrepreneurs, our lives are going to mix in sometimes. And we have to kind of deal with it and adapt and flow as we go. But the last 3, 4 years have been when basically I've seen, just wow, like, okay, especially coming to LA and, really, I gave myself to LA, the market in LA, like 100%. I got here. My ex and I broke up quickly. I was living homeless. I was out of a minivan selling hair. Honestly, I was drinking in the daytime and making it to see clients still, on the phone, in person. and just hustling as hard as I could. And after a month, even though she left and all my family told me to come back home, you're crazy, you're homeless, what are you doing? I had a feeling. I was like, you know what? If I keep putting this work in the way I'm in LA and keep moving around and struggling, then I'm going to make it. And I think a big part of for me, and I've had this discussion with many people as well, is that struggle, that journey, that story really, really defines, excels, and really puts your business in a position to be such a personalized brand that people just won't turn away. And that's kind of what I've brought into Hairman India. 100% of myself just poured into it, which is why many clients that understand business and want a long-term relationship, would never look anywhere else because we're here, we're available. I'm here, I'm available, and everything I've learned in my journey, I'm putting it out there now as well, and not just to motivate and to inspire, but actually to educate and inform as well. I'm putting together a class, discussing all this stuff for the hair business as well, which hopefully will allow some people that are feeling stuck or looking to operate and start a business, especially in the beauty or hair realm, that they can find answers, golden nuggets, motivation, everything from it.
No, I love that. And do you now, like with this struggle? I mean, here you are you moved to LA, you're experiencing a breakup, you're homeless, you're hustling, you're trying. I mean, you're drinking alcohol, try to escape all of this to deal, but still at the same time you're hustling. What in the struggle do you think that you learned that helps you now?
Hmm. During that time, I learned so much about myself. I spent a lot of time, literally, even after the last couple of years, recently, um, sitting in the bathroom when I was living with people and just waking up and going to the bathroom and crying and pulling my hair out, and just from literally one bad review from a client or one small thing that happened in the day, that would just totally throw me off. And I think I've talked about this before as well. And it's so easy to say and it's so hard to do, especially in the present moment. But I wish that I didn't spend so much time worrying, worrying and crying about so many things that, at the end of the day, they work themselves out. And, the reviews thing to tackle that right now. As business owners, we're going to have issues. We're going to have problems. Things are going to go up and down. You'll make mistakes. Your team will make mistakes. It's all about how dedicated and how much integrity you have to deal with your business as a stand-up owner. And I've done that every step of the way, but I would worry about it so much before that it would even throw my energy off and I would, be in bad moods. And that's not good for yourself or for your business. So I think that's one of the biggest things I learned is, things are going to happen. You're going to have to learn how to adjust and work around them. But, just understand that you can adapt, you can change, you can be flowing. And in my mind, the true essence of entrepreneur, I mean, that's what it is just rolling with the punches, moving on to the next, shifting your business or shifting it to another business, or collabing with someone else when you need to and when you don't need to. And you're the owner, you're the entrepreneur, you're the human. You make those shots and you make those calls. And what I've learned also is when you're making the big ones, it's always good to learn, have some advice here and there, but really quiet down yourself, slow down, meditate, think, breathe, relax, and make those decisions for yourself and from yourself. Because then, no matter what the decision is, no matter who likes it or not, it goes the right direction. You made that choice, you made that decision, you're flowing with it, and you're adapting to each outcome that comes after that. And it really allows you to kind of really spread into your business and really, spread your wings and fly and grow in the sense and the direction that you really want to.
Yeah, 100% agree. Whenever you were, because this is interesting to me, because when you were a preteen teenager, you seemed like you didn't give a fuck at all. And you were just like, I'm going to manipulate and do however I need to do. And I don't care what these people think. And then you're here in business, you're homeless, you're sitting on a toilet crying because you got a bad review. Why do you think this being accepted? Did that change, or do you really think that you were kind of worried about other people's opinion, your whole life?
I don't know. In the beginning, when I was younger, like you said, I didn't give a fuck. Honestly, I didn't give two fucks. I used to do whatever, whenever, say whatever, do whenever. I didn't really feel embarrassment or anything. As I got older and as it changed into business for me, there came a time when I was scared to talk like we're talking right now, because I didn't want to lose business. I didn't want to lose clients. I don't want people to say, "Oh, he's a felon. He's, he went through this and that when he's a kid, so we're not going to work with him." And on top of that, my parents would tell me, if you say this, if you do this, you're going to lose business and you're going to make us look bad. and this and that. And I was finally doing good with my life. And I was finally seeing like a light at the end of the tunnel almost for me personally. And I got scared for a while, and I was like, oh my God, I can't talk about it. I got to be on my tippy toes until finally I decided that if I can't be myself, if I can't talk about this stuff, and actually, which these podcasts helped me heal greatly as well, about, my childhood and my adulthood, my transition into business and the way I did it. If I can't be open about this, then maybe I'm not doing the right business. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing. So you know what? Let me face my fears, take a leap of faith, and start doing it. And I started talking about it with my clients first, like just being open with a few of them here and there, like, hey man, like, how'd you start a hair company? And I'd kind of smile. And before I used to like just say it's a long story, or, I was in India and had a random opportunity. And now I'll smile and be like, well, it all started in Alabama State Prison. And I'll start just like that. And I'll just kind of get in the story with them because, it's a story of positivity, of hope, of turning around, of overcoming, of facing fears, of change. And my mindset and was framing it to be like a stigma type of thing, and society will shun me again for it. When that just wasn't true. And facing that fear and allowing myself to kind of open up and talk about it has not only advanced me as a person, but my business just greatly. 4 months ago, I was living in a loft downtown that I had with my ex-wife. Beautiful place, large, right next to the Staples Center. That started to become my identity. People started looking to me for like, oh, well, okay, you're successful because you're there. And I was miserable there. It was my ex-wife and I's place. To be honest, man, it was during quarantine. I was at the point where I was hearing things and waking up and having dreams and seeing things, and the energy was just so bad. Now I would burn sage. I would pray. I would meditate. I would try to make it better. And it was just so tough. And I had this fear because I was a felon, and, this place downtown blessed me with the opportunity to live and to work there. And I was very grateful for it, but I knew it was time to leave. And I was wondering, if I try to apply somewhere else, I'm a convicted felon. They're not going to give me a spot. How am I going to run a business without a showroom? What am I going to do now? And finally I said, you know what? My personal peace is more important. The business I care about, I'll run it somehow. I've ran it from the back of a minivan before. I got to get out of this place. I'll figure a way out. And I started doing it. And I got out of that place. I gave away all my furniture, my clothes, my suits, my shoes, my electronics, my bed towels, my pillows, everything to the homeless people nearby, and to different people that came and got them. And that's it. Let go of every bit of it. And I found a place in Beverly Hills. And the lady that gave it to me, she's actually a friend of mine now. She talked to me about my background, and I told her, 10 years ago, I have a conviction for distribution from Alabama. And she laughed. She's like, "Oh, well, that's great. We only go back 7 years ago, so you're fine." And I remember just like that second, man, like I was like, like a weight was. I was like, wow. Like, I was so scared to even ask about this. And when I did, it turned out to be nothing. And that helped me make every decision from there. And that's been 4 or 5 months now, and maybe 6 months at the most. Um, but that decision to what looked like suicide and looked like giving up to, my parents and friends of mine even, and some of my clients, turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made, recently. Just giving it all away and taking another leap of faith in the middle of a successfully running, good business, to do that because I realized that in order for me to continue running this business and continue serving my clients and continue the level that I'm at, I have to be at peace. I have to be happy. I have to feel, good within myself and about myself and love myself. And that's what, that kind of step was for me. So a lot of fear came from it, but now, right after I moved into a hostel, I was living in a hostel again, full circle back in LA in a hostel, but my showroom was in Beverly Hills, and my amazing chief of staff, Miranda, my assistant Aquarius, my girlfriend on the team now, Trina, we all work together, on a daily basis now to get things to where they are, and things are flowing really smoothly. We have so many cool things we're rolling out in the near future to offer our clients, not really even a sale, just something to help them with their business, something for them to grow, and for us to be able to share the knowledge that we've learned together.
I love that. What is like whenever you like decided to? I mean, you gave your suits and your shoes away and everything. Was it just? It was just that you were just shedding, and you'd used this phrase before, leveling up. Was it just kind of like, I need to get rid of this whole other life and I need to level up again, and that means just giving everything away?
Yeah, man. I mean, quarantine, I was actually really grateful for it. It taught me a lot. I was like at the point where I was waking up crying. I was smoking weed all day. I didn't know what to do. I was just going crazy. And when I went to Bali and got like kind of got back into my meditation and my yoga lifestyle. And when I got back, quarantine started, and I was still living in that same place. And quarantine helped me slow down and actually think about it. And struggling and writing about my childhood and the book I'm writing and all that at the same time. I don't know what made me feel that decision. I think I was just sitting in that apartment alone every day and feeling down and sad. And I was finally just like, you know what? Um, this time I don't want any of this stuff. All this stuff that used to make me like, I have to worry about my stuff at home, or this is my home, I have to come get it. I'm giving away everything in here. And I literally got my entire life into one suitcase, one small duffel bag, one tennis bag, and one backpack now. And man, I couldn't be happier. I wish I could say like exactly where that thought came from. I don't know. I know it came to me and I knew it was right. I just knew it. I was like, I have to give it all away. I have to, every single bit of it. And, I kind of implement that more and more in my life now because I've seen and I know, from my own eyes and my own heart, the power of that. It's so weird. Sometimes I'll make a call in the business to implement a CRM that's $15,000 HubSpot. And the hour or two after I implement a big cost like that, I'll have the same exact monetary amount of order come in. And like that kind of synchronization just makes me smile. Like it's a very small, in my opinion, it's a very small, subtle sign from the universe that, you're rolling the right way, just keep going and everything is going to work out exactly how it needs to. And I think it's really important as people and as well as business owners that when we have those, intuitive moments and that look like, crazy and that we have to take a leap of faith and face our fears that we take more of them than we don't.
Mhm.
You see a lot of change, a lot of growth, and a lot of amazing parts of life when you do that.
No, I agree. That just amazes me because when I've talked to entrepreneurs and they still want to have like a security blanket, they still want to hold on to something instead of, and I'm the same way as you. I did that a few years ago. I had moved to a different city and bought a big house and, had a lot of, I've had nothing ever satisfies me. I've had Mercedes, BMW, all that stuff. Nothing never, and it all like makes me feel shallow
Yep.
after a while. And I don't mind having those things if I need it for like transportation or something like that. But the whole idea of like, I need to work to get this, or I need to work to have this type of home, or I need to work to have, the $2,000 suit or whatever it may be. And then I'm working for that instead of working for myself to be a better human and to change humanity. What was because we're almost getting done. What is that mind shift that happened to you?
It's for me it became a lot of it from humility of going so low in different areas of life, and really being just humbled, to finding a point that understanding, and in my opinion, this is for everybody. And I kind of know this, I do know this myself, that serving and giving is what this life is about, and is the way that we, as men, women, as entrepreneurs, can actually impact this world. There's nothing that we accumulate and get that we're going to be able to say, hey, this is what I accumulated and got. This is my stamp on the world. Like, no, it's like the exact opposite. The service you provide, what you give, the people you help, the people you touch, like that's really where the bulk of importance of life comes from, I believe. And when I started to make that mind shift, I've always been like that. I've always been very, very caring, giving. Like I want to help people. And in the situations and circles I was in, a lot of times before, and the way I would approach them, I would get taken advantage of a lot. And now, and it was all for a reason. It all taught me a lesson as well. And I don't harbor any hate towards any of those individuals at all. And many of them I've spoke with, and we still love each other. Um, but I guess I said all that to kind of say that these thoughts, right, that we have, that the mind shift, it comes from a beginning, a start of changing our mind, and then it's a journey, it's a process. You have to be comfortable with knowing that it takes time, and be, like I said before, be gentle with yourself at the same time, push yourself. And that's what it was for me. Is there was no one exact moment when I made that mind shift. It was slowly starting to lean that way. And when I got rid of the distractions and my friends and what I was trying to be so hard to be, my identity, I broke it down and realizing like, wow, like I'm happy in India, in a random country, walking around a village, finding little kids to give food to, or sitting on the phone, listening to somebody from wherever cry about something that's going on, and just being a shoulder to listen to for them. And things like that fulfill you most of the time are not materialistic and monetary, especially for long-term fulfillment. And I began chasing that long-term fulfillment. And for me, that's what it is. It's service and it's helping. And once I really understood those things and they connected, um, that's how I say I catch myself now. Because I know if I'm not acting in a way that's helping and serving and providing, and which also that includes, taking care of yourself, then I'm not really going to leave an impact that I want to leave. And there's no sense of doing it. So I might as well stay away from it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to close up the podcast. Rocky, this has been absolutely amazing. I appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing your story with us. I do want to ask you one last question. I want to kind of, if you could be of service to young entrepreneurs, because I know I get DMs all the time. I was telling you earlier about this, and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. Their life's all screwed up. They've having issues. They've got, they always want to label us with ADD or OCD or whatever, and, maybe they've had some bad times in their life where they've gotten in trouble and had situations, I know seems like everybody nowadays, including myself, we've all had, child abuse and just all these labels that get thrown on us. And then this whole idea of becoming a victim. If you could talk to like a 20, 21, 22-year-old right now that has gone through life and struggle, but they have that entrepreneurial mindset, in closing, what would you tell them?
First of all, your struggles are going to make you. Your struggles, embrace them, love them, learn from them, and keep them in your back pocket because they will definitely make you who you are. Don't be shy of it. Don't be scared of those times. Beyond that, I say this a lot, really get rid of the distractions around you. Be very careful who you place around you. The music, the TV shows, the movies, the food and the water you put in your body. It might sound small, but they're all interconnected and they're all very important. From there, once you, kind of get into yourself, understand yourself, meditative states, yoga, like really calm and relax. Figure out what you want to do. Start making small baby steps. It doesn't have to have a big major goal and just run for it. You can start very small with small steps of how you want to change what you actually want and get very clear with that in yourself. And you're going to have some fears stemming from that. You're going to be worried about who would say what or would I be able to make it or not. Face those fears and do it. And, reach out to people like me, people like, Jason. Look online on YouTube. There's so much good help on there. Everyone from, Robin Sharma, Tim Ferriss, Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer, Joe Dispenza. These people drop, gold nuggets all day long on YouTube for free that have helped me. I've read a couple of their books as well that have helped me in many, many ways, and I stuff my brain with this information on a daily basis when I'm walking, when I'm in the car. Even my girlfriend and I, when we're sitting around, sometimes we put a tape on because that's the kind of information I want coming into me. And, I think Wayne Dyer said it like this. It's like the stuff that we want to give out, we need to make sure we have that within us. If that's success, if that's love, if that's, whatever it is, you want to have that within you yourself. And, you can share that with the world and even manifest it into your own world more and more once you really get clear on those things.
That's amazing. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate your mindset. I appreciate you sharing so many, like you said a second ago, gold nuggets to my listeners. I know you're going to be of a help to many, many people, not just, my listeners, but those that as you begin to explore this and move in that direction. And I just want to encourage you and thank you. And I really do appreciate, I know the story is horrific and the things that you've gone through, but I always see people that have these type of stories, how they're able to impact and help, hundreds to thousands of other people. So I do appreciate you. And I want to thank you tremendously for being on the podcast today.
Definitely, Jason. Thank you so much for having me here as well. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.